Bose Aviation recently asked me to share my first solo story, but I feel like I've had a lot more than one first solo. It all started with the Schweizer 233 sailplane. It was where I got my foundational primacy in aviation, controlling the airplane with a stick in my right hand and the spoiler control in my left. I managed several solo flights in the 233 during the summer of 1995, and then moved to power flying in Cessnas and Pipers with the more traditional left-hand yoke, right-hand throttle setup. This is a shot of my 11-year-old daughter flying with me in a Piper Warrior. And after nearly 2 decades of flying left-hand yoke, right-hand throttle that I wasn't entirely comfortable with, I moved back to what felt like home.
Alright, yep, you're good to go. I'm good to go.
The Super Cub was a lot like the 233 with the left hand controlling the throttle and the right hand controlling the stick.
Alright, I'm by myself in this thing.
But after so long flying tricycle gear, it was not lost on me what a challenge it was to become a new tailwheel pilot.
Alright, so I literally feel like this is my first solo again. Alright, so the airplane is going to be light. It's probably going to jump right off the ground with no instructor in the back. Let's be ready for that.
Soloing the Super Cub absolutely felt as magical and awesome as it did in the 233. And with each tailwheel landing, I realized that there was so much more to learn. It was such a raw type of aviation experience. And of course, this gateway airplane led to the ultimate tailwheel warbird trainer, which is the T6 or the Harvard in Canada. This is a 6,000 pound, 600 horsepower supercharged tail dragger, and the butterflies that I felt when I got to solo this thing were on steroids compared to even my first solo as a student pilot in the 233 or the Cessna 150 or the Super Cub. This was definitely the ultimate first solo.
Well, you gone and done it. Now you gotta get this airplane back on the ground by yourself. Alright, Grandpa.
Having grown up hearing the stories about my grandfather being a Spitfire pilot in World War II makes this a deeply personal journey for me. And the T6 is a logbook requirement if you hope to fly airplanes like the Spitfire, which I definitely plan to do to honor my grandfather. Learning to manage the huge radial engine in this thing that can be accidentally overboosted if you're not careful, combined with the constant speed prop that breaks the sound barrier at the tips at takeoff power and the retractable gear, made me understand why this thing is known as the pilot maker.
Yeah, I know where the ground is in this airplane now. That is freaking awesome.
The most recent first solo again was learning to fly the RV-14 that my team and I built. This is the fastest airplane that I've ever been in command of, and learning to manage the energy during the descent and landing phase while respecting the operational needs of the engine break-in has been a real challenge.
This is surreal, man. This is surreal. Oh, I got the 193 true airspeed. D&E is 200. Oh yeah. Gentle descending turn here.
And those first solo butterflies were present the first time I found myself alone in this airplane for sure.
8 years ago, I started a YouTube channel called Flight Chops.
And I want to thank Bose Aviation for having been there since 2015, helping me figure out how to share the learning and all the stories that we've told via the Flight Chops channel during that time. In my experience, a first solo has not been a singular event. Each time you move into a new type of flying or a new aircraft, there's tons of learning to be done. And you do feel like you're alone for the first time, all over again.
Tearing up a little bit, think about Grandpa.
Good job, man.
Yeah, I got a little emotional on the taxi back.
Really?
Just think about Grandpa.
Well, I'm sure he'd be proud. It's as close as you can get right now for sure.
It is.
So until next time, keep your flight chops sharp.